Hey everyone, it's Hollywood again at Hollywood Boulevard. We're going to be actually doing a little bit different route than we planned on going here. Plan on getting Cody's car started, stuff like that, which it is started, but we're actually not going to have a video for that until after he runs it, just for the fact I want to get all of it put together and have the whole video on one. So this video is actually going to be talking about what actually goes into a derby car for this caliber of show. And for people that don't understand demolition derby, we're going to have a little bit of a talk and just kind of explain some stuff on what goes on now and how the builds get, because this obviously is more of the top builds in the sport. I mean, there's a class for everyone, but this is more of the heavier stuff, I would say, and a lot more time and a lot more money goes into this class. But we're definitely crazy for doing it. So, but like I said in my first video, demolition derby is no different than any other sport. We love it, and we'd enjoy the heck out of it. So, and we all plan on trying to win some money back, but we'll never recoup what we actually have into it. There ain't no way. So, we're gonna go around the car, and I'm gonna kind of explain some stuff, show you some stuff. It's pretty banged up. This was, like I said in my first video, this was my Gold Rush car from last year. It's to the point where it is junk. I was hoping I could use it again, but it is beyond fixing, and with the transmission being bad, the motor and transmission has to come out anyway, and the way these are built, pulling them in and out is not the easiest thing in the world. So we're gonna get that pulled out and get all my stuff back out, because everything that's in the car pretty much gets reused, and motor tranny, rear end, all the tires, even my suspension, bumpers, the cage, everything gets reused pretty much other than the car itself again. My way of, like some people, I guess, save the cages and stuff like that, or buy new cages. I save the cages just for the fact of I don't have to spend the money on steel every time. It is more of a pain, I would say, to get it all cut out every time and cleaned up and put on again, but saves a lot of money in the long run. So we're gonna go do a little tour of the car, give you an idea, like I said, and see what you guys think. So we're gonna start with the front of the car, just give you an idea of what goes on up here. Mainly for the people that don't really understand demolition derby yet, but hopefully you'll learn some stuff here. This first thing is the front bumper of the car. Most of the times nowadays we actually use a replica, it's called, because the factory bumpers off these cars are harder and harder to find, or they're not good anymore, or the bumpers that came on these cars are just not a desirable derby bumper to get used on the front. So we actually came out with bumpers that are almost identical to the real bumper, but they're all made out of steel. All different thicknesses and all different designs. Actually, my really good friend Cody makes these. A ton of them actually, at 726 Customs. This is a 74 Monty actually. One of my favorite bumpers. I use it on pretty much everything. This one's only 3/8 thick, but he does a couple different options, a couple different widths. In the long run, it's almost better to get something like this so you can use it over and over again instead of buying a factory bumper, which potentially could be junk every time you run it. Get one of these bumpers and you can use it more than once. It all depends on the rules and stuff like that of what bumper you want to use or personal preference. Like I said, I personally like this bumper. I use it pretty much on everything, like I said. But a lot of guys like a different style bumper, which there is a very common bumper out there, which a lot of you will see probably in my videos what the most common bumper is, but this is one of my favorites. This is the radiator protector, or radiator guard. Some shows allow this, some shows don't. Mainly to be here to protect the radiator. Some shows don't let you run a piece of steel like this is, so you actually can just use the factory AC condenser just to help protect the radiator and hopefully you don't pop it, because once your radiator pops, kind of on a time crunch. I mean, most derby engines nowadays are built to take the heat and abuse, but they're still on a ticking time bomb for when's the next time it's going to start when it shuts off. So the next thing, we're going to go to the front of the car of the suspension and maybe some bumper brackets and a couple fix-it plates I got. So we got the front bumper and the radiator protector. mainly up there. And I mean, this is the front clip of the car, which is actually the factory for this Buick Electra. More mangled up now, I can't really tell it's the factory fender and the core support area where the radiator goes. But it is the factory stuff. So anyway, first thing we're gonna go talk about, this little tube right here, that's a core support spacer. A lot of derby cars have a core support spacer nowadays. It's for the fact of pressures, getting rid of the little rubber puck that you usually hear on most cars. And we go to a steel spacer, so we have our front rods that actually go through that to protect, kind of help protect the radiator a little bit, keep the hood tight, keep the core support tight. Because normally there's like a 5/8 bolt or a 15mm bolt in there, and it just doesn't do the job. I mean, there's a lot of shows that actually you gotta leave that factory, but for most of the stuff I run, we get to change that. Next thing is the bumper bracket. Here we're allowed 18-inch long bumper bracket. A lot of shows switch to the 3/8 plate or 1/4-inch plate, just for the fact of a lot of factory bumper brackets and shocks are not as desirable anymore, or they're hard to get for the older stuff that are good. And the bumper brackets that would come on these cars aren't very long. It'd be only probably to where my hand is right here, which ain't gonna get you very far. So to make the cars last a little longer, we're allowed to run a 3/8 plate instead of an actual factory bumper shock. Instead of having just a flat plate though, a lot of shows nowadays too are allowing you to shape that, which normally I run a piece of angle style. I had a TP on there, but a little miscommunication and I had to cut it off, and I think that was kind of my demise on this car a little bit. These plates right here, my fix-it plates, it was starting to bend pretty goofy, so I had to really get creative on how I needed to use them. They usually start out as a 6x6 1/8-inch plate for most shows I run. So I just do my little design I do on them and fold them and stuff, and I put them there. Suspension, it is the factory control arm from this car, which I said it's a 75 Buick Electra. Factory control arm, you get to weld it down for height. You get to run a better ball joint and a metal sleeve around it. The reason for the better ball joints is just take the abuse better, and I like these QA1s actually, just to the fact that they are rebuildable, and if you wreck a pin or anything goes wrong with it, you can take it apart at the derby instead of taking that whole ball joint back off the car. It just makes things a lot easier. Bottom one, same thing, just a little bit bigger pin. My straight treads, I like these tires. I've had a good friend tell me to run them, and I haven't looked back since. They've been great tires. I haven't actually bought any new ones since I've using these ones. The only thing I've ever had to change is the wheels get bent or they pop off the bead. I just got to put a new tube in them. But overall, very phenomenal tire. I recommend them big time. Some people still like the littler tires, but we don't ever run like a factory vehicle tire anymore. This is more or less derby built wheels. There's actually a tire inside this tire to help it from popping so easy. And we actually put different centers in these wheels nowadays, so we can put the stronger wheels back in the day on these cars now to have the same bolt patterns what we're running for spindles. I run Ford spindles, personal preference. People like the GM spindles, which would come on this car, but I prefer the Ford spindles. I've had better luck with them personally. Another fix-it plate down there, a couple arm straps down there to hold the lower end. We're gonna go to the rear end now. A little bit of the back of the car here. We'll start with the plate that's on the hump. That's called the hump plate. Some shows let you run them, some don't. Mainly just there to help the hump collapse. I know it's crazy to think we're trying to stop these cars from bending since we're hitting each other, but the longer the car lasts, the longer you get to drive it. So some shows let us run this hump plate so our hump doesn't collapse and the whole back end goes down, but unfortunately, it's still bent behind that plate, which normally happens for this stuff. But I tried to put the fix-it plate there, didn't really help. Still kinked there. Chain that helps hold your rear end in from coming loose, keeping the suspension tight because you want it kind of stiff. So just when you're out there, you're not getting the rear end's not flopping around. And you don't want to break the control arm bolts, which actually ended up happening to me because I tried something different. But learn from that. Don't do that again. So that's what that chain's for. Just keeps everything tight, keeps everything from coming loose. These are a little bit different than the front tires. These are actually a solid rubber tire. There's no tube, no nothing. It's just a rubber rubber wheel glued to a steel wheel. Get shredded or whatever not, there's nothing to lose air. That's just how the shape of it's always going to be. I like these tires a lot for the tracks that are more mainly indoors. When the tracks are super hard, I like running these tires just for the fact I don't have to change tires all the time if I pop one or anything like that. You can shred them pretty much to nothing and keep using them. But you get to a track that's softer, sandier, or fluffier, I wouldn't recommend these just because they don't have much clearance for your end, and also I don't think they clean out very well, so good tendency to get stuck with these. I'd rather run a rubber tire with air in it than these, but most shows I ran, especially the indoor ones, like I said, I like these tires. I run an 8-lug. I can go underneath and look at it better, but I always ran an 8-lug rear end since we could run better rear ends. A little bit cheaper option. My friend Chad at Crooked Iron builds these actually for us. Been a great rear end. You can find parts pretty much for any part of it, anywhere. Been having really good luck with them. It's 80 style Chevy 3/4 ton truck rear end. Been phenomenal so far. Been using them for the last 6-7 years and haven't really had too many issues with them. So we're gonna go to the back of the car now. We're going to the back of the car again, but I meant like the very back of it. That was more of the quarter panel, but this is the very back of the car, just like the front bumper. We've changed out the rear bumpers on most cars for this class, especially. There's a lot of shows you run the factory bumper. I've ran the factory bumper multiple times. I ran this bumper to kind of get a wedge effect, which it kind of did its thing back here, and the quarters flattened down pretty good. I mean, the purpose of all these lines and everything in the body is to keep everything tight, which we'll get more into this summer. I'll show you guys why I do that and how I do that. But I don't pack all this steel because I mean this quarter panel was about this tall and that's a lot of steel packed on in here. Main reason, like I said in the first video, is to take steering out and break some tires off, and it normally does its thing, but this kind of went down a little bit more than I thought it would. It's the first time really doing this on a car. I mean, I'm pretty happy with it, how it did perform. A couple things I'm going to change, but still one of my better cars I think overall in the back so far. Great bumper here from 31X built. Did its job, and gonna use it on the next one, I believe. So just gotta cut it off and clean it all up. All right, we're gonna go underneath the hood, and then we'll look at the inside of the car, and then we will check underneath. All right, so now that we got done with the front bumper, the front of the car, suspension, side of the frame, back quarter, rear end tire, back of the car, we're gonna look underneath the hood. I got the hood off of it, and I use this cardboard stuff. I'll go on the other side here. So I use this cardboard stuff. Helps make like our fan shroud, like a car on the road would have. Keep the air flowing right to the radiator from the fan. I do that, so if something moves up here, it can just chew it away if it has to. But it also helps a ton when you're trying to keep that motor cool. I mean, like I said, best thing to do is keep that motor cold as it can be, because once it gets hot, you're kind of on a time crunch, and you don't want it to get too hot and wreck some stuff because it gets pretty expensive. But anyway, since the factory radiator mounts are gone, normally we just use some threaded rod to hold the radiator in, some tabs, aftermarket aluminum radiator, a lot easier to put in here, a lot more universal on all the cars you run. I rubber mount everything, I try to. You see that one's kind of falling out, but keep it a little loose, and then I put a little grate foam on it so it can kind of move around a little bit on the bottom. So if you get it too tight, sometimes you can bend the radiator without even getting hit, and like I said, you don't want to lose that radiator because that's one of the most important things in your car to keep that motor nice. Here's the motor. It's my 355. Was my coiler in my first story. The motor I bought in one of my mom's birthday. But unfortunately last year, or actually 2024, I broke the block at Gold Rush. So my really good friend Dustin Mickus at Mickus Motorsports actually redid the whole motor for me. And we got it right back before Gold Rush this last fall. Great engine, he did a great job on it. Couldn't be any but happier with it. Hoping to use it a lot more this summer. I think the first time I'm actually going to use this engine is at Bash for Cash this year. That'd be actually my first time running there. First time to build like that. It's a little bit different than I normally am used to. Very weird compared to what I'm used to, I guess. There's a couple things going to be new to me. But we're going to pull it out of this cradle. And I'm actually going to redo the cradle that's on the 383 in the back room you seen in the first video. I'm actually going to chop that one up since that is one of the very first 726 cradles. It was pretty much the guinea pig for Cody's whole cradle thing. I mean, what we learned on that one from me putting it on there kind of changed the game of what these are now. So these cradles are actually made so if something happens in the engine, you can leave the cradle right in the car, the bottom half of it, pull the halo and the front plate off, and the whole motor can come out, and the rest of it can stay in there so you don't lose all your pressure, which we'll kind of go over that this summer. But this is a big key thing for a lot of these cars on what they act like and what they do, and it also protects your really expensive, investment that's sitting inside there. So the best way you can keep it safe is getting a good cradle, and 726 makes a great cradle. Got my fancy header protectors, Hollywood Boulevard. All these little nuts and stuff that are along the fender, and got no rod on them. Them are actually my hood pins to keep the hood tight, since for derbying we actually take the hood hinges off for most classes. Obviously the lighter stuff you can leave them on there, but I take them off, and then these rods actually go through the hood, and if you can see the holes in there, that's the header holes. Actually bolt it down that way. These are them threaded rods I was talking about that go all the way through the frame for a core support, to hold that core support tight instead of the factory ones. Alright, now we're going to go to the inside of the car. Alright, before we look at the inside, I kind of forgot, we're going to look at the top of the roof here. This is the roof of the car. So that bar going to the front, that's considered a window bar. A lot of shows let you run different ones. Some let you run flat straps of steel, chains, 9-wire. For here, we're allowed a piece of 2x2 square tubing from the dash bar to the rollover bar, this is called the rollover bar. I mean, pretty self-explanatory what that's there for, so you don't get crushed. These cars are very heavy, so if we roll over, that roof is probably going to collapse. But for this show, we're allowed to run that 2x2 all the way from that to the dash bar, just so nothing comes through the front windshield. The rollover bar, like I said, self-explanatory. It's welded to our sidebars, which I'll go over in a few minutes. Goes over the roof so we don't get crushed. And then we have roof signs. Everyone runs a different roof sign, but for our team out in South Dakota, this is our matching roof signs for that show. Same roof sign I won $50,000 with, and on my mom's birthday, so these will probably never disappear. Cody actually made these the first year we went there. It's gonna be a wall ornament eventually, but as long as it stays straight, it's gonna keep getting used. Back window bar, same thing as the front window, keeps everything from coming in, kind of helps hold the trunk lid down, and you don't want someone going 100 miles an hour in there. I mean, the cage is pretty big back here, but just another form of protection for our gas tank, since that is inside the car now. All right, we're gonna go to the inside, go over this pretty quick. So there's the inside of the car. I'll do a little better view of it once I'm done talking, but I'm gonna look down here at the batteries. I mount the batteries inside the car now. Almost 98% of all the classes in derbying, you got to move the battery inside the car. There's one class you really don't have to if you don't want to. Pretty much for a beginner's class, it's pretty much knock the windows out, take some parts off the outside that would come loose, and some stuff inside, and go derby it. But for this class, and majority of the classes, the batteries do get moved inside the car just for safety. I make them this high so I can reach them if something happens, or if something comes loose, I can see it. Because once I'm strapped in that seat, I am pretty much stuck there until we're done for the heat. My switches, I run these lever style switches. I used to run push button and toggles, and they've taken me out before. So I went to these lever switches since Cody showed me them. And now it's pretty much the same thing as twisting two wires together. It's metal on metal contact. I've pretty bulletproof in my opinion. Pretty self-explanatory also, and I'm just not a fan of twisting the wires together, especially when you're out there trying to figure out what's going on and getting hit and stuff like that. So that's my switch setup. The chrome handle there, that's actually our shifter. The pin that's right there, that's made to keep it out of park. Our derby trannies are actually built for derbying. Most of them are anyway. So there's only a first and reverse. It don't shift, it don't do nothing. You go forward, you hit back to that pin, you're going in back, you're going reverse. So when we're out there, we don't have to worry about park, it popping in park. And that's actually a shifter from NLR Derby Parts. Great shifter, had that a long time. This black cooler right here, if you can see it, that's my transmission cooler. Keeps that transmission nice and cold, I mean, for the most part. Very, very crucial thing, just like the radiator. You want your stuff to stay cool as possible, because the warmer it gets, the worse it's going to get. Another great product from NLR. Now we're going to move the camera over here a little bit so you can see it, but this is my fuel pump setup. Another product from NLR Derby Parts. I run a dual fuel pump setup for the fact of I don't want one fuel pump taking me out if something happens. So if something happens to one fuel pump, I can flip a valve, flip a switch, and the other pump will start pumping gas. Very, very good investment in my opinion. You don't want to be taken out by dumb stuff, and you just try solving all them issues the best you can with what you can. Fuel cell, that's what's back there. My friend Vito, 324 there, gaming, great friend of mine. Sponsored a sweet sticker there. Most of our cars nowadays, we move the fuel cells inside also. Like I said, there's that 2% in that one class. They don't have to move them in a certain criteria. But almost every class in derbying now, we move the fuel cell inside the car. And most of the time, they are protected by a gas tank protector, which is that square tube structure around the gas tank back there. My seat, that's my seat over there. Just a normal car seat. I did have a headrest, but it decided to fall off at Gold Rush, and I actually had to use my pickup truck seat for the rest of the weekend, which I thought I would have to buy a new one, but it stayed okay. I wear a 4-point harness in this class, just because how heavy the cars are, and the impact's pretty aggressive. I mean, there's a lot of guys that run just a lap belt yet, and they're fine, but personal preference, I like to wear the 4-point. I'm not real good at backing up at, I'll admit that. So normally in this class, I really don't turn around, and hopefully I can learn a little better about that, but we'll see how this summer goes. Hydro steering, we talked about that the other day. That's a product from HLK Derby Parts. Instead of using a steering shaft, I run that setup, and it's a lot easier to put in this car. You don't have to worry about cutting the square tube out to get that steering shaft lined up and stuff like that. But I mean, I have a Sky High steering shaft, which is actually the other shaft I'll use this summer probably. Great product also, but for this class I just recommend myself for the hydro steering. It's just simpler in my opinion. And then our gas and brake pedal, as you can see down there, we have it all stationary. Everything's gone from factory from the car. So the throttle pedal has a cable to the motor, and then your brakes just got a regular brake line to the pinion brake, which we'll actually see in a few minutes. Great product from 726 Customs. Love it. I will never go back to another pedal probably. Been phenomenal. Everything works as it should. Here's my steering wheel. A little heavy for what it is, but can never have too big of or too strong of a product, I guess, especially in this sport when we're banging around each other. But we're gonna go to the bottom of the car now. All right, so this is actually the first time I've looked underneath the car since I ran that Gold Rush. I have yet to pick it up, so this is gonna be all new to me yet. I haven't even checked it out, see what it looks like underneath. So we're both gonna be looking at this together, and we might find some surprises. So, all right, so we're gonna be the back of the car. You get a bumper bracket just like the front. I prefer to run them on the bottom. Here we're only allowed a 10-inch bracket, so I put it on the bottom just to help the frame roll up. Normally I run a chain side to side, but I did not was not allowed how I had it, so I just removed it. Instead of trying to screw around trying to fix that, I just took it off of there and left it off for the weekend. If you can see up in there, them are body spacers. A lot of shows you gotta space the body out yet. Normally that puck is rubber from factory, but since we take the bodies and the frame off of these cars and pretty much start over, which a lot of you are gonna find out that's how crazy we are. We take those out, we get to put a metal spacer in there to keep everything tight, and we get to change the bolts up to a 1-inch bolt for this show, but every other show is different, just depending on what promotion you run for or what class. This is my crooked iron rear end, like I said. Chad's been great. It's been a great rear end. I've been running his rear ends for a very long time. Actually, I'm part of the ones that got him started doing it. Convinced him it's a good idea to start trying to build this because it's a very high demand in the sport. A lot of people were doing it at the time. I mean, there's a lot more out there now, but Chad's still building a great product. So if you ever need a rear end, it's a little bit cheaper than Postal Mopars or another big brand in the sport, which they change a lot of stuff and they're a little more expensive. This is a little more price friendly for a lot of people. It's utilizing the factory rear end, but everything inside here is all new. And the axles are factory and stuff like that, but he builds a great brace on it. And then you got the mountable pads here that unbolt and bolt, so you can actually change out. If you need to run leaf springs, you can run leaf springs. If you need to move these arms, actually this is adjustable. He's changed a few things since this is my rear end from 2019 yet. I actually sold it, bought it back, but this is old design a little bit yet. So this is all updated. But there's our pinion brakes. That's actually our brakes for stopping. There's no front brakes on the car anymore, so we have a driveline brake to stop the back wheels, which is great and all sometimes until your back end gets scooped up and you have zero brakes or engine power to stop you from going for a ride, and then you get to get shoved into the wall or a car. Kind of sucks sometimes, but that's just the way it is. And our control arms are not factory control arms anymore. These are actually square tube. A lot of shows you can switch them out to square tube as long as they got rubber bushings. So I just made my own. A little more of an angle here than I liked, but they've been working. You can see a little bit. I had some rough time at Gold Rush. This is all mangled and destroyed. I actually had to fix all that, so the uppers were mangled and destroyed also, but it's gonna really suck to get my rear end out of this car because everything's pretty much welded in now since it got so wrecked at Gold Rush. The drive shaft, like I said, in the back room that day, they're almost like a PTO shaft on a chopper box or a farm equipment. They're made to slide in and out, so when the car is bending, it can move and you can keep going if the car's bent bad or whatever it's doing in the back or the front. These have been out for quite a while now in the sport. Pretty much every class lets you run them, other than pretty much bone stock class. But it's definitely a lifesaver in any class, especially the lighter stuff, because the cars do bend fast and you can just keep going until it really don't go no more. So this is the transmission, still a factory Chevy transmission, TH400. But just like the motor, this is fully enclosed in a brace, just to keep it protected and to strengthen the car a little bit. But unfortunately, when I go to the other side of it, I believe it is pretty destroyed. I don't know how it happened, but we're gonna find out here in a minute what it looks like. Cause like I said, it's the first time I actually picked it up. That shifter that was in the car, this is how it mounts in the car. You can kind of see, move my camera a little bit. A little mounting bracket he makes for you, mounts on the pan, and then our shifter cable goes to a lever, just like any other normal vehicle. Just this is made for Derbian. Crossmember, not the factory crossmember anymore. I run piece of 2x3. Some shows let you run different stuff. Some shows you have to run the factory one. But for here, we were allowed to have up to a piece of 2x3 square tubing or anything, I guess, 2x3. But it doesn't look like it bent too bad. I mean, it's pushed back a little bit. I've used it, you can tell I've used it a few times just by the way it's been cut up and stuff. And I just weld it to the crossmember. I've been learning not to weld it so much because it really doesn't need to be that welded in, especially when it comes right back out. Tranny cooler lines, those are that cooler that was up there, that black cooler. That's my lines for that. They go to the transmission like factory. And then we get to up here, if you can see, that bell housing right here is actually mushroomed all the way up to here. Never in my life have I ever had that happen, so I don't know how, but it happened. And that was my demise at Gold Rush, or else I think we could have pulled her off. We were doing pretty good. Cody lost the back tire, but I had a pretty good car other than that horn on this seat. And the frame on this side was pretty bent, but I was still moving around just fine, had steering and everything. But yeah, can't do much when you got no transmission fluid to move the car, because once you run out of transmission fluid, the tranny does not move anymore. So you are sitting duck and getting teed off on. It's not the funnest thing either. There's my motor. Nice and pretty. And that's part of the cradle yet. That goes all underneath the motor and everything there. Protects the oil pan and keeps everything safe. Pulley protector protects the front crank pulley. You don't want to get hit in the crank pulley and take all that shock on your crank inside the engine. That'll really mess up the internals in an engine if you get hit there hard enough. And as much money's in that in these engines nowadays for Derbian, you really don't want that to happen. So a lot of shows, these are allowed to have on the cradles now. A lot of shows let you run a little lower cradle, which is just a smaller version of what's on here, without the stuff all the way to the top and along the back. I will probably never run a show without this unless I really absolutely have to, just for the fact I like to protect my investment, because like I said earlier in the other video, everything I have goes into the sport, and when I wreck something really expensive, it takes a big damper on me to get it back fixed or even keep competing, because anything I got extra is already into it. So when that stuff takes me down, I'm pretty screwed. Steering, we get to run different tie rods. These are not a factory tie rod for the car. These are strictly Derby tie rods. Built for Derbian. NLR builds these also. It's just like a better end that's threaded onto a tube with lock nuts on it. Made for all different types of cars. He's got different lengths and sizes. I actually, little history here. This whole steering, spindles, upper control arms, ball joints is still my original ball joints and steering setup from the year I won on my mom's birthday. I have yet to have a problem with them. It's pretty impressive, and even in my book, to not wreck any of that stuff yet, but they are all the original parts. I just cut them off the car the year before, weld them onto the next one, grease them up, and they're good to go again. But yeah, so these suspension parts have won over $20,000, which is pretty impressive. But hoping to keep staying that way, and we don't wreck anything in there now. So anyway, so that's pretty much a little bit of a lowdown on a national style mod car. For a lot of guys that didn't really ever see one up close, or people that have never even seen a Derby car, that's kind of what one looks like. I mean, this isn't every show you go to type car. This is more the heavier side, like I said. I prefer running this class. I've been running it for quite a while. I've been learning a lot more on it. But I enjoy it. I like enjoying the build. It's a lot of time, a lot of time. But I love it, and yeah. So next episode is just going to be some mechanic work. I am not going to get to Cody's car until the 4th episode. Yeah, great, right? 4th episode, we're actually going to look at his Gold Rush car from last year, which would have been my teammate from the same show I just ran this at. We're actually going to fix it because he's running into a mod class. I know, crazier to think that it's not a mod, but there is there's heavier stuff than what this is, and Cody's going to be running his Gold Rush car in that class. So we got to fix some stuff on the back end, kind of went a little goofy, broke a wheel off, his gas tank was leaking, the leaf spring kind of went goofy because that was a wagon. So we're going to fix all that, redo the whole back of it, put some fix-it plates on it, and he should be good to go in that class. Hoping the episode after that will be the fresh wagon that he's running on a team at Cornhusker Chaos, which is Derby in Nebraska. Hoping to get that video put together after he runs it. So there might be another episode in between there if it's not before he runs it. I'm trying to think of my days here, but anyway, we'll figure it out. My plan is every week, Wednesday, noon, Central. Hoping to have a video out for you guys. I want to keep up with this. Hopefully when the summer comes along or springtime, we can start getting 2 videos a week and keep you guys updated on what's going on here. Because it's about to get crazy at Hollywood Boulevard.